Lee Daniels, a really sort of wild man of cinema, one of the wild men of cinema.
And he came up to you on the street?
He did, here in New York. I was toddling down West Houston, as you say, and trying to avoid the holes, because, you know, if you don't look down...
And you wear heels.
You fall over, because they're all, it's like this, the pavement, isn't it? So I'm sort of looking down, making sure I don't fall over.
Or you do like I did the other day and break your heel.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And I get a tap on the shoulder, and I turn around, there's this mad-looking guy with black Rasta hair like this, and you know, and rather sort of camp, and lots of scarves and things. It says, you're Helen Mirren, and I'm doing a film for you, darling. I've got a role for you. You know, I'm going,
does this happen to you often? Do you have a lot of people coming up to you?
Yes. Oh, okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Well, lovely to meet you. And, you know, thank you for being nice about my work, and thank you. And then a year later or more, you know, he gets, and it's Lee, and it was Lee, and
he did Monsters Ball.
Yes, he produced Monsters Ball, and he's a wonderful.
He's a real person.
Yes, he's a real person, exactly, which I didn't understand, and you know, it was this wonderful, mad, sort of excessive, right up my alley, that sort of thing, actually, you know.
But you had that, and then the Queen.
Yes, I forgot the whole thing's launched off with Shadowboxer. Shadowboxer, no, immediately after Shadowboxer was Elizabeth I.
Which, with all due respect to all the other Elizabeths, is the most, I just think that show was absolutely fantastic. I've watched it.
Thank you.
You and Jeremy Irons, as far as I'm concerned, and Hugh Dancy, I mean, you are so magnificent in that
Yes, it was
part.
hard work, but it was
Well,
great.
it has an intensity about it that is very unique to those kinds of things. And
well, you know,
often they just get lost in the costumes, and it's not really that.
It was a great piece of, the writing was wonderful. It allowed you to sort of live in the role.
But you have such fire, and you're so, you're amazing. You're just amazing.
Yes, she was, actually. She was very temperamental and very, you know, emotional. She was always sobbing on the sofa or throwing a shoe at someone, or, you know, slamming the bedroom door, refusing to talk to anyone for 3 days. And she was very volatile. I was doing not the last Prime Suspect, but the last but one. That was produced by Andy Harris, who produced The Queen, the film. And we were doing our first read-through of the piece, and our only read-through, and I got there early because I like to welcome the cast when they arrive, and, you know, look everyone in the eye and say hello, and just hopefully make people feel at their ease, you know. So I was there very early, and as the cast were coming in, I was going up and saying hello and introducing myself, and Andy was down the other end of the rehearsal room, kind of watching this go on. And suddenly he said, "Oh my God, they're treating her like the Queen." And then he looked again and said, "She looks a bit like the Queen as well." And he'd just done The Deal, you know, that Peter Morgan wrote. There was a wonderful piece about Gordon Brown and Tony Blair. I don't know if you saw it, fabulous piece. Yeah. So bing, you know, light bulb went off in his head. I'm going to do a piece, Peter Morgan's going to write it, Helen's going to play the Queen, and Stephen Frears, who directed The Deal, will direct it. And that was how the thing was sort of born, about 3 years before it came to fruition.
And
it went through various...
What was your initial, were you initially excited by that idea, or did you feel...
My first reaction was, you must be joking.
Have you played any other living people?
I've avoided playing living people. Because it seemed to me it's in a no, or even recently dead people. You're in a no-win situation.
Right.
You're never going to be as good as they are, you know. And if you're no good at all, you're useless. and they'll say, yes, she was quite good, but she wasn't anything like the real person. You know, so it always seemed to me like a no-win situation. And the Queen, my God, the Queen, for God's sake. But I couldn't say no, could I?
But I love when you say in the book that when you first saw the costumes laid out, you thought...
God. A woman who loves costume, you know, Elizabeth I, fabulous.
Yes.
You know, I'd walk into my trailer in Elizabeth I, and there'd be like, you know, jewels and pearls and diamonds over there, and bracelets here, and things for your hair, and ruffs and everything. And I'd walk in and I'd go, okay, well, we'll have those. And I'll have those. And then I'll have one of those there, and maybe one of those there. And then I'll have all of those on my arm. And where are the rings? Where are the rings? So I just loaded myself up like a Christmas tree. It was fabulous.
And then with this Elizabeth, you
and
had
Elizabeth
corgis.
Oh my God. Well, you know, little square tweed skirts and various shades of dark green and brown, and you know, the scarf, and those sensible shoes. I cried. I did cry, but I genuinely, I said, I cannot play a person who chooses to wear these clothes. I can't get into her head. You know, I can't get there. But Consolata Boyle, who did the costumes, brilliant, very brilliant, because they were like that. But you know, these very
sweater sets,
very you know, formal little dresses, you know, very incredibly restrained. But she made them beautifully out of incredibly expensive fabric. And the best thing of all, they were lined with the most expensive silk you can get, silk satin. So when I put these things on, they just felt.
Yeah.
And I got the feeling of what it's like to be the queen, who never wears anything that is not of the most expensive fabric, perfectly fitted, just for her. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
The shoes don't look great, but they feel incredible,
amazing.
because they probably cost £2,000 to make, and they're all hand sewn. Do you know what I mean?
And the barber jacket.
And the barber, and everything is. So Consolata Boyle did a brilliant thing. So whenever I put my costumes on, it was, you know, I felt. I'm not saying I felt like the queen, but I felt like a woman who's only ever known this kind of clothing.
And been cared for.
Yes, yes.
So we're going to show, this is not in order, I'm warning you now, so go to picture number, this is a little bit of a jump. Go to the last picture, picture number 2 actually, but the last picture of her getting ready for of Helen getting ready for the Oscars. No, that's not it. although I like the story of that picture, so could you show that picture
I wish I was
again?
getting ready for the Oscars like that.
Did you show
Instead, I had my mask, a white mask on my face.
Now that picture was, you told me before, when we were speaking before about that picture, which I love. Isn't that the picture that was taken for something?
Oh, well, you know, the other picture that you
that's
showed,
the other
and
picture.
this one. You know, I lived for 4 years with a very good photographer who was a fashion and a magazine photographer, and he did sort of art photography on the side. And we did a lot of work together, and the one you showed earlier on was one of his pictures.
But this is the one. This is the one that was never used.
Oh no, that one. Yes, that's the one that was done.
Back